Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero. Our guest today is Chief Petty Officer Kenton Stacy. More accurately, the subject of our episode today is Chief Petty Officer Kenton Stacy. Our guest is his wife, Lindsey, who does most of the talking for him. Chief Petty Officer Stacy was an explosive ordnance disposal technician who was injured in a blast while he was, ironically, clearing a Syrian hospital. He had been assigned to the Operation Inherent Resolve campaign against ISIS in Iraq and Syria. The blast left him a quadriplegic, took his eye, and destroyed his vocal cords. This episode is about Chief Petty Officer Stacy's sacrifice. It's also about the sacrifice of his wife, Lindsey, and their 4 children. It's not an easy episode to listen to at times, and as always, I applaud Pete for bringing it to us. The Stacy story needs to be heard. Please stick with it. I'm sure you'll be compelled by Lindsey's words, and it will be worth it. You can support the Stacys through the Sinise Foundation, a cause that means a great deal to Pete and myself, and we support the work that Sinise does, his compassion and his convictions. I want to say that he's a guy who puts his money where his mouth is, but the truth is he puts his money, his efforts, his time, and his grit into everything, and his mouth only where his mouthpiece can help. So please go to Sinise Foundation's website at GarySiniseFoundation.org, read about them, and help wherever and whenever you can, and help the Stacy family. And as always, if you want to help others find the Break It Down show and hear stories like this one, please help us out by giving us a positive rating and a nice review on whatever platform you're listening to us, and share the show with your friends and anybody you think should be our friends. With the story of Chief Petty Officer Kenton Lindsey, here's our special guest today, his wife, Lindsey Stacy.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Morata.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Lindsey Stacy, and I am speaking on behalf of my husband, Kenton Stacy, Navy EOD Tech, and we are on the Break It Down show.
And now, the Break It Down show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Whew, okay. This is going to be I hate to say a very special Break It Down show, but that's in fact what it is. You heard right up front. She's speaking on behalf of Kenton. November 9th, 2017, Chief Kenton Stacy, an EOD tech from the Navy, went into a room to sort of stabilize the room and make sure that everybody was able to get out safe. And while he was doing that, a bomb went off and took a lot of who he was with him. He is now a quadriplegic. He breathes with the aid of machines. He lost the vision in one eye and lost his voice. His voice box was damaged in the explosion and spent most of the next year and a half in hospitals trying to stabilize and get quote-unquote better. And speaks on his behalf because, like I said, Kenton's voice has been taken. He can whisper a little bit, but his primary communication, Stacy handles that. We're going to dive into this story as we look at all of these veterans who have significant permanent disabilities and try to understand what life is like for these guys, because it's easy in the press to say or, offer condolences, that kind of thing. But these folks actually exist. They actually have to do things. So, Stacy, thank you very much for coming on the show. I am just floored by what you all have to go through day to day just to survive and everything. And I want to make sure people go to EOD Kenton Stacy Project. You can definitely do that on Instagram and check it out. Kenton came out and visited us during the Coronado Island swim. We all got to go hang out on Floyd's giant boat. So we've got a little bit of history, but thanks for coming on, Stacy, and thanks for telling us this story.
Thank you so much for having me.
I guess I should also give some context to you. You guys have 4 kids, and 3 of them are under the age of 10.
Yeah. I have my hands full.
Yeah, well, and then your oldest son, Logan, has cerebral palsy and needs constant care as well.
Correct.
So how on earth do you manage all of that?
I would say with Logan, we get respite care services through the Navy and through the state. So it helps offload some of the care from me. And I would just say between my mother and his mother, they've been a lot of help. I would say we kind of scaled back a little bit and tried to put more of the load on me, I would say, since he got home from the hospital. But I would say the whole time he was inpatient, I would have either his mom or my mom here. I'm definitely doing more of the load now.
Yeah. And how are you bearing that?
I would say it's different day to day. Some days are better than others, but it's just a very overwhelming situation.
When you're overwhelmed, you're going to have to 2 minutes later be right back in that situation.
Correct.
How do you take mental timeouts? How do you go and regroup and get back to work? Because getting upset and get overwhelmed, that's great, but same problems are going to exist, right?
Right. I try to do self-care and take time for myself. But yeah, I kind of feel like I just bury it down and I just keep pushing through.
What's the hardest part of what you have to do day to day? Is it the mental? Is it the physical? Is it the pace? What is it?
Honestly, I think it's just mental for me. Just seeing Kenton there and knowing that I just don't have his help anymore, I think is the hardest thing for me. And just watching our kids, the way they used to interact with him and they lost that with their dad, that kills me and breaks my heart.
Yeah. On November 9th, 2017, I mean, until you find out, you're a mom that's already overwhelmed, right? You've got
Correct.
4 kids, a husband that's deployed. How do you learn how to even do all of this? I mean, okay, great. We have this new challenge. You don't know if he's going to get better, if he's even going to survive.
Right.
How do you get from there all the way to here where you're like, yeah, we're overwhelmed a lot. I have to, bury it down.
I honestly feel like you kind of feel like you just don't really have a choice. And like he's my spouse and there are kids and I just have to do everything to keep them all together. And it's hard, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Well, yeah, God bless you guys for having to deal with this and for you being such a warrior.
Thank you.
Does the Navy or does the state, does somebody provide you with guidance on you've got to cope with so much? It just shocks me that there's just so much on your plate and you don't get a bigger plate. You just get more stuff piled on top.
Correct.
Who's helping you?
I would say we get support from the Navy. I would say it was better when he was inpatient. I would say a lot of our support comes from family and friends.
Why was it better when he was inpatient?
The EOD community made sure that there was a guy there every week to be with Kenton, so it kind of offset some of the load. And Kenton does get 24-hour nursing care, so it does make it that I don't have to do a lot for Kenton, which is super helpful. So like I said, it's more of a mental thing for me at this point.
And is he medically retired?
We are in our med board right now.
Okay.
So not yet.
Right. So you'll find out at some point here. I mean, it's an administrative thing. These things take time. This is just for the audience.
Correct.
They do what they can to get people retired. He'll be a senior chief when he retires.
Correct.
And that plus whatever disability payments and Social Security or what you guys survive on.
Correct. And he should be deemed 100% total and permanent disabled with the VA. He only has 14 years of service. So I know he won't get that 100% DOD pay. But we should be hopefully okay. We don't know what the actual breakdown will be, but.
And then obviously medical care for life. Is that right?
Yes. Well, the whole family will have TRICARE, and then he'll have TRICARE and all of the benefits from the VA.
Gosh, it's so heavy. How is Kenton bearing all this?
I would say he's mentally struggling. There's days he has said crazy things to me. So he's definitely struggling.
Well, let me ask the hard question. Does he want to survive this? I mean, how often does he think just pull the plug?
Correct. There have been days where he says, I can't fight anymore. He's told me I need to move on. So, I mean, those things are really hard to hear.
Right.
But yeah, I know he's going to keep fighting, but I don't know for how long he's going to want to keep fighting. Because I know this is killing him.
Right. Does he even have the capability of committing suicide, or is he completely dependent upon you or somebody else to, provide a pill or something?
Right. Yeah. No, there's no possible way that he could. Unless, again, if he got sick and his determination, I guess, goes out the door, then.
Right. But as far as like having a mechanism or a means, he's completely unable to act on that.
Correct.
Whew. Does he get mental counseling then to help him fight this at all, or to understand where he's at?
I would say they have a command therapist, and he will come out from time to time, but it's not on a regular basis.
Should it be?
I think it should be, yes.
It seems like you'd want to, and I know this is a super hard topic. I appreciate you having the courage to talk about it, but it seems like there should be an outside party that's working with the both of you. Not that we're trying to in any way end Kenton's life, but if it gets to a point where it's a rational decision, you'd want to have a professional involved in that, I would think.
I would totally agree. Yes.
Whew, this is so hard. Do you feel like it's getting better in general, the whole situation? Because you guys have it doesn't seem like a long time. I mean, it's coming up on 2 years.
Right. And I would say we've only had him home since April. So we've had to adjust to a new norm here at the house. And it really hasn't been that long. I would just say that, I don't know. It's just, I feel like every day is different with him, with his mental state.
Right.
Like we went up to Disneyland, and we used to always go to Disney, and he just looks sad. And he's like, I just want to be able to get up and do the things that I used to. And we actually went on our first family vacation in Alaska, and like, he was just crying. And like, I feel like these things are beneficial to him, but I feel like on the flip side, they're just making him more sad because he's not able to do what he really wants to do.
Yeah. I can say that when I go to Disneyland, it is not the happiest place on earth for me either.
Yeah.
And I have, most of my faculties left, and so I can understand where he's coming from, where I can tolerate it for a while.
Yeah.
But I'll reach a point where I'm spending all of my time trying to calm myself down.
Right.
Yeah. It's not the happiest place on earth. I mean, I appreciate what Disney does for veterans in general, but whew. Okay. So what about you and how you survive? Are you getting counseling?
I am. I have a therapist, and I also feel like I just have a few really good friends that I literally, at the drop of the hat, I can tell them anything. They're supportive. They're here for me. And I think that's more beneficial to me, that like, if I know that I need someone right then and there, that they're there for me.
It would seem to me that it'd be easy to fall into a trap of resenting Kenton for doing this, and obviously that's completely unfair. Do you find yourself having to deal with those emotions? But obviously knowing that they're coming is completely normal, but your response is the part that has to become elegant and defined.
Correct. Yes, there's definitely some feelings of resentment. Sorry. I would think for me, there's also some resentment even before just his injury that has been brought up from the Navy. And I say this in the nicest way, but I feel like my husband getting injured, and him and I have both talked about this. I've gotten the husband I've always wanted. Someone very again, he doesn't have a voice, but he communicates to me more. He's more honest with me. So I feel like it took this wake up call for him to be the husband that I wanted him to be, which really sucks. So, but yeah, there's definitely some resentment, and I feel like it's not totally towards him because he did his whole workup cycle. He was on a dive team. He was supposed to go to Bahrain, and the command switched that last minute. And I know that they are dictated to, but I feel like there's probably more resentment towards the Navy and their decisions, because there's new, younger, junior guys that, okay, maybe they're not as good at their job as Kenton was, but it's their turn to go to the combat zone. My husband had already been 3 times to a combat zone. He should have got the dive deployment in Bahrain, where, no offense, they barely do shit over there and they party all the time. He should have got that deployment. So I feel like my resentment's more towards his command in the Navy, not towards him.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep working on these things, but if we've got to slow down, let me know, because I want to be aware of what I'm putting you through. But a lot of us guys who deploy, we struggle. Our relationships are challenged at best, and a lot of them end. Were you guys doing all right before all this? I mean, 13 years is a long time. 3 deployments is a lot. How were you guys doing?
Honestly, I would say that our shore duty was actually the hardest part of our marriage, because I thought it was going to be a break, and he was gone all the time. So I feel like our marriage was probably the rockiest when he was at shore duty. But other than that, no, I mean, we had our issues like every married couple, but
Sure.
I mean, in March, we'll have been married 16 years. So I've been with him even before the Navy. So no, I think we had our issues, but it was pretty stable. And I mean, I was always supportive of his job. And I mean, we would fight just like any other married couple. So
I appreciate you answering that. I know those aren't easy questions, and I'm going to try to. But I think it's important to illustrate these things, like on top of, the obvious challenges of the paralysis and everything else, and TBI and PTSD and all these other things. There's also the regular day-to-day life challenges. Like your plate really is all the way full.
Correct.
So what does Kenton like to do now? I mean, his life is redefined. He can't go out and run around with the kids and engage how he wants. Mm-hmm. What kind of dad is he now?
Honestly, like, I feel like I always try to push him. I'm like, we should get you involved in something. I mean, he loves his children. I mean, he has even told me that it's literally like sitting there and watching your life through a TV, that's how he feels now.
Huh.
I just know it's really hard for him, because I always say he was a great husband, but he was a better father, and he loves his babies to death, and I know it kills him.
Yeah. What kind of things does he do to occupy his time? I mean, obviously TV is a big part of what he does. Does he have grander visions? Does he want to get a PhD in something, or what does he see, or is that not even possible right now? Maybe I don't know.
I feel like we've talked about him going to college, and he's like, well, how would I do it? And I'm like, you probably would have like an aide, or so I feel like we talk about things, and he's always kind of been like that in the past, where he'll talk about things, but he doesn't actually act on them. I know him and I have talked about that all these organizations and foundations have done so much for our family that someday we want to start something and we want to give back. But I feel like we don't know what we want our vision to be.
Right. Yeah. Well, and there's time for that. I mean, honestly, you guys are, like we said, you're just kind of stabilizing now and you're just sort of figuring out day-to-day life. How stable is Kenton's life?
I would say it's stable. I feel like we never know when his next illness is going to present itself because he does get constant pneumonias. He got out in April and we've already been inpatient 3 times for pneumonia since April. So we just
so
never
even
know.
His day-to-day existence is always challenged, whether it's you got to move your body to keep it as healthy as they can. He doesn't move enough, so the infections in his lungs and all that kind of stuff, that's got to be constant.
Yep, it totally is.
So he can really physically only do so much. Does he have free time in his day, or is he constantly doing something to care for his life?
He does have free time. I would say he watches, TV a lot during the week. He'll make sure, he is already up, but he'll go and he'll sit out in his wheelchair and wait for Logan to get off the bus in his medical stroller. So that's always kind of cute. But I would say that's pretty much, except for therapies and doctor's appointments, that is his day-to-day.
And Kenton is able to speak in terms of he can whisper, right?
He can whisper, but we all pretty much read his lips if we can't completely hear like his voice. I've gotten really good at lip reading.
How does he get your guys' attention in a loud room when everybody's distracted? Does he have some kind of mechanism?
He actually, and again, I don't know how, he will click his mouth and he'll get our attention that way. But that's pretty much what he does.
What's Kenton's message to everybody? Is he figuring that out?
Yeah, I think he's still figuring that out.
Yeah, I can see that being the case.
I definitely think that he wants everyone to see the sacrifice that he's made and never to forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is right now, everybody's complaining because the president has backed off on our presence in that region of the world and getting people like Kenton out of the way.
Right.
Folks are mad because there might be some hotel benefit or whatever, but frankly, I would rather have Kenton out of the way. If we're not going to do something that accomplishes a goal, we don't need our warriors just kind of waiting for the inevitable,
Correct.
What do you want to do? You have all this stuff on your plate. You're taking care of a whole family full of people. Is there something that you would like to do for you?
Oh, I feel like I just want more support for me. Just with the day in and day out of the kids, of the house. Just whether it's people reaching out, just showing their love and support. I think that's what I really need, is just to know that people are still there for us.
So the other day, you guys got to go out on Floyd's gigantic boat, his 100-foot luxury yacht. Is something like that, is that a nice break for you guys, or?
Yes.
Is it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And that actually was Kenton's nurse that was with us.
Oh, I thought it was his mom.
No. That was his nurse.
Okay.
Because we're going Thursday to the khaki ball, which is I would say it's the ball. It's not the Navy ball, but it's for all of the people in the Navy that are E7 and above. So I feel like those things, just help us, I don't know, not stay connected, but it's something that we look forward to and something to get us away from this everyday mundane lifestyle.
And you guys live in San Diego, so
Yes.
it's perfect down there, but you still have your day-to-day battle in the house. So getting out of the house is helpful. What other kind of help do you need? Like, where is it? Like, I know you got a lot of support, but if you could add 2 or 3 things to the day-to-day mix, what would you like to add?
I feel like I need a nanny, which I know when I want to actually get an au pair that lives in with us just for maybe a few years till the kids get older. Honestly, I feel like just keeping up with housework is hard these days. And again, like I would say, even when he was inpatient, the guys would be like pretty good with it. Like just having someone take the kids out, even if it's like one by one, and just spending some quality time with them. Like they miss that.
Yeah. What about Kenton? Does he need to get out of the house more?
Yes. And his friend was so sweet and actually got him tickets to a concert. The band was going to meet him, and then Kenton got sick and he was in patient at Balboa, so he didn't get to go. So, I mean, things like that, I think when he has something to look forward to, when it's not this every day, I'm just sitting here watching TV, doing nothing.
Right. Right.
Yeah. We went to the movie the other night to see the Joker. Like, he loves that stuff.
Right. What's the prognosis? I mean, there's so many advances day to day in the biotech world. Is there any kind of substantial hope, or are we waiting for some big breakthrough that's not on the horizon?
I feel like they're all working on something, but I just feel like it's not there yet. I found out about some stem cells they were doing in China, but he's active duty, so they pretty much shot me down.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know, like, I don't want to go there if it's not going to make anything better, because it's an actual, like, 6-month stay.
Right. And then there's the whole, I think this week, a guy who is permanently paralyzed, they put like a brain stem and an exoskeleton on him, and he was able to move around. And like you said, it's not ready for everybody.
Right.
But at least there's some kind of hope that something like that, where he could have some mobility,
right,
that day is coming.
Yeah. I do believe that him having his injury now, that it's a good day and age for this to have happened. Because I know UCSD is working on like 3D printing, like part of, your spinal cord. So, I mean, I know there's stuff out there and they're working on it. It's just, how do we get into trials? How do we know the right people? And
how do you guys manage that? Because managing the VA is challenging. Managing the naval medical system is challenging. Finding outside care and not screwing up your existing situation. Like, oh, you shouldn't have gone to China. Now we have to cut,
Right.
You've got a lot to deal with. How do you map that?
I feel like we just are trying to do research, but I really don't know like who the right people are to get in contact with. I feel like that's what I'm struggling with. Like, people will send me articles and it's like, okay, but how do I actually get to the right person to find out, how do I get Kenton in a trial, or how do we get this to actually happen for him?
Right. Yeah. And I know UCSD's got a strong engineering program, but are there other schools in the area or even in California where it would be beneficial for him to be involved with what's going on?
We actually had been talking, is it QLA Plus, or they kind of do stuff outside the box, but just trying to figure out something also for a way for him to communicate. He has kind of like, it's called a Tobii Dynabox.
Okay.
He's really not working with it, I would say, that much on a regular basis, but like one of his EOD buddies from the East Coast came, he's like, why don't we like try to find someone at Google and get a lip reading app and like take his voice off of like old videos and actually make an app that lip reads Kenton, but actually produces his own voice. And I'm like, that's super cool. How do we actually do it? So
this is a good thing. My buddy Phil has ALS, and he's already banked his voice. He knows people that deal with that kind of stuff. So if nothing else, we'll connect you to Phil Green because he's working on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
He has the advantage, the misfortunate advantage of knowing that this is coming and able to plan for it. So if you're Kenton, how do they go back in time and pull your voice out or give you a cooler voice?
Right.
Maybe he'll get to be Lou Rawls or somebody. Do you guys get to laugh much?
We do. I still Kenton the smart ass, and we still laugh a lot. It's not all dark time, so we're just trying to navigate this new life, and I feel like we both haven't really wanted to accept that this is how it is, and maybe things would be better if we would get to that point, but I don't feel like we're both ready yet. I mean, it's been almost 2 years, like we should by now, but
well, I mean, you guys have been in reaction mode for so long. The whole grieving process has its own timeline, and it doesn't abide life. It just goes on its own. So all of the things that you have to deal with, and acceptance is coming at its own pace. So
right.
Don't be too hard on yourselves. That's keep getting counseling, and let's get you guys more help. So when people want to help financially, you guys have a GoFundMe page.
We do.
Tell me about that.
We just have a GoFundMe page that my friend Sarah set up, and I can send you the link for that.
And then what if people want to connect you to resources that they know about? Is the best way to reach out to you guys on the Instagram page?
Instagram or on our Facebook page. And I can send you even my email or my phone number if people want to reach out.
I will put those things. I'll put the Instagram and the Facebook stuff in the show notes. If you guys want to reach out to Kenton or the Stacy family in general, you can. I'll get you connected to them if you guys have resources, or if in some way you want to get involved in supporting this family that's going through so much stuff. These challenges are significant, and it's not just the day-to-day grind. I mean, it is the mental part. It's the trying to clear out a future that makes some kind of sense. And it sounds like you guys you're almost figuring out how to survive. Do you think it's possible that in 3 or 4 years, do you feel like you'll be able to thrive as a family?
I hope so. I hope we can get to that point. Yeah. I just feel like we're, like you said, just trying to survive day by day right now.
Are you surviving day by day, or are you guys drowning day by day?
It depends on the day. Some days, some days feel like you're drowning, and you just feel like you're in a nightmare, and is anyone ever going to wake you up?
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here, and if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
You just feel like you're in a nightmare, and is anyone ever going to wake you up?
Right.
But yeah.
How far can Kenton travel in his chair?
We actually took him on an Alaskan cruise.
Okay.
So that was our first trip. I don't know if that's what got him his pneumonia that he was just impatient for, but it was worth it. But again, I think he had a great time, but it just brings up like what used to be, and I know that makes him sad.
Is he mobile enough to go out and do things like, could he go on a fun run and go out and participate in those kinds of things, or is that too much mobility?
No. I definitely think he could. I know we want to get him involved in a lot of people have told us about that there's like adaptive soccer where they could put something like on his actual wheelchair. I think he would love the adaptive shooting. So I think it's just trying to find out and navigate, who do I contact? 'Cause I know these things are out there, but
Right.
because
Well, this is hopefully where the show can help out a little bit. People can say, oh my gosh, you know, the quadriplegic Olympics are coming and Kenton would be great on the shooting team. Let's get him out here and get him some lessons or whatever. you know?
Right. And he was always in high school. He always was, a very good athlete. He was always more, I would say, in the individual sports. He did like pole vaulting and wrestling, and he was always really good at what he did. And he was very avid BMX biker. So he's a very active guy. And then I would say in his Navy career, he was very big into parachuting. So I know this is killing him as active as he was. Riding dirt bikes, parachuting, diving. It's just, I know it's got to be tough for him.
Yeah, he wanted to be a scuba diving bomb guy. That's a danger man,
Yeah.
So, well, listen, I appreciate you taking time to share the story.
Of course.
I don't want this to be the last time that you're on the show. We just got to figure out how to get you guys some help, because I think the goal right now, at least in terms of how all of us out here in the world, is to help you guys figure out how to survive and then get to thriving and giving back, And let's get you guys through this process.
Thank you so much. No, I just said even before the injury, we've been through a lot as a family that I kind of didn't touch on. And so I feel like we've just been through a lot as a family as a whole.
Yeah. I hear you. You guys have. Like I said, you've got enough on your plate. Let's all see if we can't help the Stacy family out, because you guys, you're dealing with it. Well, Lindsey, listen, anytime I can help any way, any kind of access, I'm going to try to do my best to do it. I'm going to try to connect you to folks. And if you think of something or you think of someone that might be able to help, or some organization, don't hesitate to ask, so that I can put it out there, and maybe we can get you connected to the right people that maybe will have some answers, whether it's becoming an Olympian or just some medical procedure that might do something to give back his voice or anything.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.